bungee jumping margarita with
Yeah.
margaritas.
It's kind of fearless.
Dying.
They are not afraid to say what they think.
Think about how many times you communicate in a day. Think about how many times you think, you read, you write, you process. But I really love this placement. Hi, everyone. It's Meredith, your evolutionary astrologer. And today, Connie Jo and I are here talking all about the third house. Hi, Connie.
Hi, Mare. I'm really excited about this third house.
So am I. This is not only a fun house, this is a smart house. And so we're going to bring you a deeper look at the third house.
Yeah, I love the third house because it really gets into some of our everyday routines, like traveling back and forth to work, that kind of thing.
So what I want you guys to do is look and see what signs you have in the third house. Now, we use the Placidus house system here because we are teaching evolutionary astrology. So you need to know when you are watching people on YouTube, what kind of astrology are they talking about? Vedic astrology is different than evolutionary astrology, is different than Hellenistic astrology, traditional astrology, whole sign astrology, but you can still listen to your signs placements. So if you are using the Placidus house system with us, you can have up to 3 different signs in your third house. So you're definitely going to have 1 sign. You might have 2, and you could have 3 if you have a sign that is fully encapsulated into that house with all 30 degrees. I want you guys to listen to this video based on the sign or the signs that you have in the third house. So today we're only talking about the signs. We're not going to be talking about the planets. But if you want us to do the planets through the houses, let us know. Leave a comment and please like this video so we can push it out. What do you think about doing the planets through the houses, Connie?
Oh, I love it. I think everyone will find it very interesting what house their Mars is in and what that really, really means in their life, in their everyday life, you know?
And in this video, and I hope you guys are watching this entire series so you can know what all the houses mean. They all are ruling a different part of your life. And so, and if you have a planet there, that planet is going to shape the energy of this house too. So what is the third house? Yes, I think the third house is a very fun house. I think the 9th, the 5th, and the third house are really joyful houses. But this is the house where we start to discover other people. And this is the house of our curiosity, of our minds, of our siblings. But I want to also include your cousins. This is the house of your cousins. So if you don't have any siblings, but you have cousins, the kind of interaction you have will be based on this sign. It also represents so many things. I'm going to tell you all about it, but short trips, your vehicle. While the third house represents your mind, it also represents your language and how you use language. And this is like going to show you how you want to learn. Do you want to learn like a Pisces or like a Virgo? We're going to go through all 12 signs in this video. So it's how you communicate, such as writing, speaking, talking, listening. This is also how you listen, how you edit, how you research, also how you might translate. I find it very funny that somebody, like when I was down in Mexico, Connie, this is a funny story. I met this bartender, and with my husband, we met this bartender, and I was telling him how his margarita was so good and it was so different. And it just like, his margarita was like soulful because he used this like liqueur in it. And this waiter came over and he said, I speak fluent English. I can interpret for you if you want, because he doesn't speak any English. I said, would you? And then I said, would you tell him all of this? And I had a whole paragraph to say. And then he interpreted it and he told him like 1 sentence. And I was like, no. You did not translate everything I said about the sun and the moon and the stars and the soul and this margarita. He goes, yes, I did. I said, no, you didn't. I understand enough Spanish. I know you only said heart. You didn't say soul. I said soulful, not heartful. So it's kind of funny because he's like, I said that. And then you know what he told me? He said, lady, we don't have a word for that. Like the margarita is like a soul. We don't talk like that. And I said, I know you don't talk like that. I still want you to say it. I know. He's like, well, it's going to mean something else. I said, just try it. And then the bartender died laughing. So I don't know what he said. But
I love it.
this third house is like how you will translate or interpret the word too. Like I was talking about Chris Farley in that Saturday Night Live skit that actually destroyed his self-esteem because they fat shamed him. And he was dancing next to Patrick Swayze, and it made him a huge sensation. But I was curious. I'd love to do his chart. I was curious if that's what made him lose his life.
Yeah.
I wondered. And I had said, because he got cast in only fat roles. And then I realized I said the word fat rolls.
Aww.
And I meant roles for
fat big
people.
Rolls. Yes.
I realized that it came out like I was talking about the love handle fat roll. How you interpret the word spoken also is in this house. This is why I don't do traditional astrology, because we are modern evolutionary astrologers. We are modern thinkers. So think about this, Connie. Think about this. This is so cool when I was thinking about the third house. This also rules now a new kind of writing, like HTML coding, gaming, digital writing, like behind
does. Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry, but 2,000, 3,000 years ago, nobody included that in the third house.
Oh, no. They were still writing on the tablets back then. Stone tablets.
They were still carving in so these are the hieroglyphs. And they would have said, this rules hieroglyphs.
Exactly. You're right.
But like electronic gaming, I think you're going to find the video games here and the 11th house, but I think you'll find the video game here, like the addiction to video gaming.
Oh, that is so funny because I associate video gaming with the fifth house as well.
Ooh, maybe it's in 3 different houses.
I know, it could be.
But I do think social media, like your website, not necessarily the internet. I see the internet in the 11th, but I see your website, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, social media. I got off Twitter. Now I'm on Blue Sky, like that. Substack, Reddit. I think that's in this house too. This is the student teacher axis, the 3rd and the 9th house. So this is also teaching, lecturing, public speaking. So think of I want you guys to think about the sign that is on the cusp of the 3rd house. That's the ruler. You might have a secondary sign in your 3rd house, but the ruling sign takes precedence. Also, now think about how you speak in public, and does it match up with that sign? This is going to show you the way you think, the way you perceive, the way you reflect. Are you reflective or are you not? How you gather information, how you sort it. All of this shows up in this house. It also rules the ability to negotiate a deal. The house of like signing a legal contract and an agreement, right? Like this is like when you go to the doctor's office and you have to fill out all that gosh darn paperwork. I just like to write none and then sign it. I don't want to go through all that paperwork. Also, this is the access. Don't you think this is the access of like publishing your work?
Yeah, I do. I kind of think it's written in the 3rd house and published in the 9th house.
Yes.
But it goes together.
You got to write it to publish it.
Absolutely. You sure do.
And I also think this is the newspaper. This is how you get your news, and I'm a news junkie. I think if you have planets in the 3rd house, you could be a news junkie or a gossip junkie. It could be People magazine. It doesn't matter. It's just like, there's so much curiosity. I think curiosity is like what makes this house rumble.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this is the house of the curious cat. It can be if Pisces is here, but I don't see this house necessarily as artful. I see it as factual.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, my 2 words for the 3rd house are community and communication, because I think it rules our neighborhoods and communities and our neighbors themselves and how well we interact in our community and and this could be the online community, although that's kind of fighting for the 11th house a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you think this is my Ring camera on my doorbell?
Yeah.
Because I get Ring camera notifications. Bear in the neighborhood. Coyotes on a walk.
Yeah, I do. I do think that.
I kind of wanted to really put this in perspective because we interact with the third house kind of on a daily basis. I mean,
Yeah.
think about this. Think about getting the news. Think about how much you learn. Think about how many times you communicate in a day. Think about how many times you think, you read, you write, you process, you perceive. You're on social networks. Think about your car. And also, it's not just your car, it's all forms of transportation: rail,
Right.
bus, car, train, airplane. It's the itinerary of the airplane, it's the booking details, it's the reservation. And
Yeah.
think about how often, how many times a day you rely or you do these things, like all day long, you're thinking.
And just think when Mercury goes retrograde, man, that is so third house related. You know, when the electronics go wrong, the emails don't process, the paper doesn't come, that's what I always think about.
Absolutely. And so all of us are doing our third house all day
Mhm.
long, every single day. The third house is so critical. And I think it kind of gets overlooked a little bit. Yeah, it's my mind, or yeah, it's so critical. I want you to think about this one too. This is so fascinating because the third house rules the messenger. Like, remember Hedwig
Yeah.
in Harry Potter, the owl?
Oh, I love him.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's the third house. And so it's
he is.
UPS, the post office, FedEx, and all kinds of messages that all your DMs. And it's Hedwig.
Yes, it is. That is so, I hadn't really thought of it. I love that.
So when Mercury goes retrograde, you can really lose your mail. Yeah.
You sure can. Or you send the email to the wrong person. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the access of education. But I see the third house as sort of like nursery school, kindergarten, and elementary school through high school. And then I
Yeah.
see the ninth house as higher education.
I think it's grade school related, especially. And
Yeah.
this is like where our childhood, our grade school memories are formed. Now, I know the fourth house is our home and family, but we spend a lot of time in our community. This is learning about our community, our neighborhood, our school systems, going to school every day. And I'm going to bring it down a notch, Meredith, but
Yeah. I want you to.
also the house of bullying. If you've been
Oh,
bullied, this could show up in the third house. If
yes.
you were abused by a cousin or a babysitter or your best friend's brother or sister, this could show up in the third house. And I just, I don't want to bring it down, but this is truth. It really is.
When you say abuse, do you mean specifically like verbal abuse?
Well, I think any abuse can show up in the chart, but yes, primarily verbal abuse.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a bully. I had a gang bully. Did you have a
Oh,
bully?
no,
No,
no.
they didn't mess with you.
I didn't mess with. I took up for people they messed with, though.
You would have been my bodyguard.
I would have. Yes.
Yeah, in the girls' PE locker room.
Oh, Meredith.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
really
very third house. Meredith and I were talking about this earlier, and we won't go into all the details, but it rules road rage. Like I have Mars in the third house, and I don't do it now. I've grown out of it, but road rage was prevalent, especially in my teenage years.
I think that's kind of funny. So if you guys have, Uranus or Mars there, that could really be road rage. Well, Connie, so do you want to kick us off and start with, we're going to go through the signs. Let's talk about Aries in the third house. So if you have Aries anywhere in the third house, and if it's the ruler of the third house, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Okay, so we were talking about road rage. Aries on the third house cusp could definitely encompass some road rage, but they're quick and their ideas come quickly. They can communicate a lot of information very quickly. They move a lot. They're kind of constantly moving, going here and there. They are direct. They kind of say exactly what they mean, even if it doesn't always come out in the most subtle, lovely way. They say what they mean. They might be argumentative with siblings or with neighbors or with cousins, but they have so many unique and kind of pioneering ideas. Aries is the pioneer. So they come in with these amazing ideas in this house as well. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would. And I think I think they can take more risks.
Oh, absolutely. And they're an independent thinker. Not that they don't learn from others, but they're pretty independent in the way they think, the way they communicate. They do it their way. Everybody, this is Aquarius rising primarily. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but most people with Aries on the third house cusp are Aquarius rising. So, but their mind doesn't stop. You know, Aries is ruled by Mars. I think that their mind is very quick and they're very quick-witted, but they are not afraid to tell you what they think with their new pioneering ideas. They're kind of right out there with it. I do think there's an argumentative element, though, to having Aries on the third house cusp. You know, the debater, could Aries on the third house cusp be a debater? I think they could, because they're going to argue for what they think is right or what they believe.
I like this placement a lot because I think they're so direct and I know exactly where they stand. They're usually really interesting, but they're also, one thing that I'll say is I think that this is a super busy house. And Aries is a busy sign. And so these people are going to be like on the go, short trips in their car, probably, moving, grooving, going all the time, listen, great multitasker, don't you think?
I do. I'm not positive Aries on this cusp is a good listener all of the time. I think their minds move so quickly and they have so many ideas and so much is going on that perhaps they're not the best listeners, or they're the kind of people that you don't think they're listening, but they actually hear everything you say, which can kind of be scary because you don't think they heard you, but they really did. They just didn't acknowledge it because they're moving so quickly. I was just thinking if you combine the Aquarius rising with Aries on the third house cusp, the main word for this, I think, is quick, moving, always going, going, going. So I can still see a little bit of road rage there with Aries.
Yeah, I think the positive aspect to this is that with Aries here, it makes this house far more decisive. This is a very indecisive house.
Yeah.
And with Aries here, it can be very black and white. I also want to tell our listeners that there is really no empty house. So if you don't have a planet here, it's not empty, vacant, and meaningless, because whatever sign you have here, that sign has a ruling planet. And that ruling planet is the boss of this house. It's just on remote control. Honestly, the houses that are empty, I find that there's a little bit more freedom for you to paint on your blank canvas, for you to make of it that which you wish. It's not like you got Saturn bossing you around, telling you what to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one more thing about Aries, they're very passionate about learning. They want to learn.
Yeah.
So, and they're
smart.
passionate about it. They are smart.
Let's talk a little bit about Taurus. And this is going to be most likely Pisces rising, right? I call this the artful communicator. And I think that Taurus is very artful. It's ruled by Venus. I don't think this is necessarily easy or comfortable to have Taurus in the third house, because the third house is busy and curiosity driven, and Taurus is very slow moving. So that's why I said the artful communicator. I think there's a lot of thoughtfulness here with their communication style. But I think that with Taurus here, it creates exceptional listening, and it even makes communication a little bit more in the feeling realm. I think there's a patient, reliable style here of talking and communicating. But I think that having Taurus here, Pisces rising, these people need processing time.
But I think this placement can even be a little inflexible. When they set their mind, their thought processes to something, it's hard for them to change their mind or go a different direction. Because Taurus is fixed earth, the most fixed sign. Yeah. And that's why I say that.
Also, think about how this is like community in a sense, like your neighborhood or your car. I think they get very attached. Like they might not switch out their car every 5 years, or or even their social media or their phone. They might hold on to their neighbors, their community, their house. So it brings planting roots to community, to cars, to their social media, to even they might not even update their website if they do
Yeah,
have a
that's an
website.
interesting way to put it, but I think you're absolutely right because they don't want to be rushed. And it's that they really don't. They don't want to be rushed. It reminds me of Libra a little bit because they don't want to be rushed to make a decision. Libra for a different reason,
Yeah.
but Taurus, they don't want to be rushed into anything. They like their routine, I
Yes.
think.
And, I was thinking like, what kind of job? Because the Pisces rising does
Yeah.
create a little bit of creativity here. And I do think this can add a little bit of a flair. But, I thought the perfect job for the Taurus in the third house would be a makeup artist,
Oh, yeah.
because the third house also rules working with the hands, Mercury working with the hands. And
Yeah.
so doing makeup artistry, or even like makeup for like RuPaul's Drag Race,
Oh,
like
yeah.
outlandish makeup.
I love that. Yeah,
And I also
I
thought
agree.
maybe even doing massage therapy, learning the body and
Yeah.
the whole structure is very third house. And then working with the hands and bringing and going slow and creating calmness. Taurus can be very calm. They want to have tranquility. And so putting
Yeah.
somebody in a tranquil state, or even hypnotherapy.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So you guys who have Taurus in the third house, you need to look at your Venus to see what it's doing and to see how it's influencing this third house. Because if you have Taurus on the cusp of the third house, it's ruling your communication, your learning. Every single thing we talked about in the beginning of this video, it's how you will do your relationship with your siblings. So that Venus is very, very important if you have Taurus in this house.
Meredith, what if you have Taurus on the third house cusp? You have Venus in the eighth house, and you're a mortician. You
Oh,
you do makeup for, you know what I mean? I mean, it
yeah,
could.
absolutely. And you
Okay,
can't be,
I'm an Aquarius on the third house, so I have weird thoughts. Let me just say that.
yeah, that could definitely. My daughter started having me watch that old 80s show called 6 Feet Under. And they
Oh.
have to make up the bodies and embalm them. And I'm just like, oh God, I can't sleep at night now. Anyways, do you want to talk about the third house
I
with
do.
Gemini?
So this is the natural placement and the natural wheel. Usually this would be Aries rising. So these people are super curious, usually very intelligent, quick-witted. They are able to communicate in a very lovely way, but they can seem scatterbrained because they have so much going on all the time. It's just like, I think that they have a lot of nervous energy, but it's because they're always thinking. They're always putting things um in their place, in their mind. They're see how I'm going all the time. I don't have Gemini on the third house cusp, but that's kind of what it feels like. Very busy, very a creative mind. They can come up with, I think of like comedy writers, that kind of thing. That could be Gemini on the third house cusp. They may be very good at public speaking. They enjoy making connections. And I love that. That's one of my favorite parts about Gemini right here, that they actually enjoy connecting with other people. And they would make a good travel agent, something like that, connecting people to travel. Anything travel related, I think this house cusp Gemini actually enjoys. And the only really negative thing I can think about this is they may really like gossip. So,
Yeah, this is the placement of the gossip. And also, I
yeah.
think they can, when they're unhealthy, when they're undeveloped, it's not just gossip, it can be like they can play both sides. So they can
Uh-huh.
create frenemies.
Oh, yes. Gemini, the twins.
Yeah, the
Those
twins. Yeah.
guys. So,
And
yeah, look where your Mercury is to find out how it really works for you because a Mercury in the fourth house ruled by Gemini, it's going to be a whole lot different than one in the fifth house.
Oh, absolutely. And this is an air sign in an air house. And
Yeah.
that's what creates that. I think they're very multifaceted,
Hmm.
multitaskers, like you said. And they run the risk of high anxiety with this placement though. But
Oh, I think so too.
I think the frenemies thing where they can be a little bit duplicitous and like pit one friend against another, that is kind of the
You
pitfall.
We used to call that being two-faced
Yeah,
when I was in grade school.
exactly. That's this when
I,
it
I
goes
I would
wrong.
agree with that. I would, but they're very curious. Now, these are the people that you don't have, well, sometimes you don't have to talk at all. But they'll keep the conversation going. They're good conversationalists.
And I think another type of job they would be really good at would be air traffic controller, a stockbroker too. They would be a great stockbroker. They would also be a great engineer on the train, like driving the train, driving the ferry
Yeah.
boat, any kind of like they'd be the great ferry pilot. I don't know what you call it, ferry captain.
Or
A
even a
captain.
great Uber driver. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, because
Or
look, they would enjoy talking to the people that got in the car. Some signs on the third house cusp, as you're going to see, they don't enjoy small talk. They would not want anybody to get in their car, much less somebody they didn't know. But Gemini's really open about that.
it's so true. Yeah, this is the New York City taxi driver.
Yeah, it is. No, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hate that job. I would hate that job.
Oh, I would too, but I'm not a Gemini on the third house cusp either.
Yeah, I would not be good at that job. We should tell everybody that this is a cadent house. There's a lot of movement, cadent houses. And I think I have a video on the different houses, the different types of
Yeah.
houses.
I'm so glad you brought that up because you were absolutely right. The fixed signs are succeedent and the cardinal signs start things, but this is kind of the sign that finishes everything up. They tie all the details together, you know?
Yes, the sixth house, the ninth house, and the 12th house are all cadent houses. So this is the
Yeah.
first of the cadent house. And I think cadent houses are really good at
Yeah.
synthesizing, putting all the pieces together, testing our hypotheses. Yeah. And this house is going to rule your arms, your fingers, your hands. So working with the hands, a lot of people who have planets in the third house like to work with their hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take on Cancer. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think of this as sort of the intuitive and nurturing communicator. Really good listener again. Brings exceptional. You feel so gotten, you feel so heard. You feel when you have Cancer in the third house, you really feel like this person is listening to you. And this is a Taurus rising normally. So with Taurus rising here, and then you have Cancer in the third, it's like when you're in dialogue with this person, you have all of them. And I think there's a deep intuition, almost an
I
empathy,
do too.
a clairsentient person where I can just feel what you're about to say. I can feel your words.
Yeah. I
And
love that.
now we're bringing a water sign to an air house. And it's a little bit at odds. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but I would say that it creates emotional resonance. I said resonance, but I would also kind of could say resident. It's like the
Yeah.
emotional resident lives is leasing out your mind.
I
And
actually have in my notes reason versus emotion. You
yes,
know,
that's what that so the house wants to be right, reasonable and factual, and then
yeah,
Cancer brings the emotion to the house of reason. Yeah.
yeah,
And so it's sort of like I think of this a lot like the mother's sixth sense. Like it's where your child is in trouble. You don't even know how you know it. It's like I know something's off. I know something's off. It's like that. But
no,
this
you're right. Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of that mama bear sixth sense.
Do you think this is also possibly where the Cancer third house cusp takes care of their siblings? Mothers their siblings and their neighbors. They're the babysitter of the neighborhood, maybe.
Yes, that's awesome. This is the babysitter. Remember that Babysitters Club
Yeah.
series? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
this. That's literally the book, the series, the story, and the activity of babysitting.
Yeah.
Yes. I think these people really crave meaningful connections, meaningful conversations, and they do not want to have chit chat. You
This
might
might be one of the signs that you're right. Small talk is not their gig.
no. They want to be around. They want to have learning experiences also that are warm and considerate and heartfelt. And there's also kind of a talent to speak from the heart here when you trust, when you
Yeah.
trust. And I think they like to talk about deeply personal things.
I
Personal.
would say you're right, especially being ruled by the moon. I think it probably depends on where their moon is located.
You have to go and find your moon because your moon is ruling this pragmatic, highly capable house. And it's kind of like you might be moody. You might be
Yeah.
really moody. Like I'm not in the mood to do all that. I don't want to do all that. So I want to know if you have Cancer here in the third house. I want to know about your experiences. And by the way, you guys should all leave a comment on how you experience your third house, because what I have found is people who watch this video, they go and they read all the comments, and your stories make this video so much more relatable. So tell us
Yeah.
about having either the moon here or Cancer in the third house, and talk about your neighbors, your siblings, your cousins. They have the ability to create a sense of like family, even inside their friendships. Oh, you know what I was going to say? I think this could be like a city council person, because the neighborhood, and then they want to invest in their environment or in their neighborhood. So like being a mayor or being on city council, I think there's a lot of patriotism.
That is so interesting you said that, because I think, like, especially if they had the moon in the 10th house, the house of public relations, they would be actually very awesome in politics or any of those things, heading up the committee, because they really care.
Yeah, one of the pitfalls, though, and you guys will have to tell me if you agree, if you have Cancer here, they can be quite defensive inside conversation, like always on defense, kind of guarded and defensive. If they don't have enough, confidence or sense of self, I find that they can be highly, highly guarded, highly defensive, and maybe even, how Cancer can kind of bottle up their feelings so they can wear kind of a poker face, because there's a quiet.
You mean go back in the crab shell?
Yeah. and
Yeah.
even look like how they don't really feel, meaning they can look stoic and strong because we've got that Taurus. And so I think there can be a real poker face here. They might
Yeah.
even be good at playing poker and sitting at the table and like bluffing. Do you
Okay.
like Leo in the third
I
house?
love Leo on the third house. They do not lack confidence here, usually. Usually Leo on the third. This is Gemini rising, by the way. And they're very confident. They're very creative in their communication, in writing. They come up with fantastic ideas, and they kind of like to take center stage in this house. They're usually very genuine, but at the same time, they're proud. They're not going to, this is a fixed sign too. They're not going to back down from an argument, because Leo on the third house cusp is pretty sure it's right. It doesn't lack confidence. They really enjoy connecting with other people. Wherever you have Leo, you kind of want to be the star. And I think a lot of this depends on where your sun is, because the sun rules Leo. But they can be, this is one of the most important things I think for Leo. They are the storyteller. They are the ones that can add the drama to the story. It's like Leo, the storyteller. I think that's about it.
I love that,
Yeah.
Connie. Like, do you remember when we were in elementary school and sometimes they had like a guest come in and read the story
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
kids, right? It's really cute. I love that. And I think they'd be a great TED talker too, like an
I mean,
entertainer.
yes, definitely. Using that third house communication, um, even if it's just in their own community, to, really, I think they make it fun.
They
Leo
do.
likes to make things fun.
Absolutely. But they can be, your lord and master. Like they
Oh,
might be the
yeah.
neighbor. They might be the neighbor that's like, I noticed that you painted your fence outside of the HOA obligatory
Yeah.
colors.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny because I wrote in my notes they can be very opinionated. So
It's like,
yeah,
did you really want to do that shade of blue on your fence? I don't think so.
yes. Let me find someone else to come repaint it for you.
I know it's so, but I really love this placement. And I
Yeah,
also think this creates somebody so freaking funny.
yeah.
You were reminding me, I didn't know that Tina Fey, I think she's a Taurus in the 10th house, but she is so funny. I think that you were great when you were saying like a screenwriter or a playwright, or like think of who writes jokes,
Yes.
like a joke
Yeah.
writer. The Gemini in the third, or that's kind of a dry wit. The Leo in the third could be just a total comedy writer.
Oh, I think so too. And they would love, or they could be a dramatic writer, the
Yes.
dramatic, you know, putting all the drama. They're the storyteller. They're the ones that can tell the story and put all of the emotions into it because Leo rules the heart. I mean,
Yeah, it is kind of limitless. They could do any kind of writing.
yeah,
I see this Leo aspect to the third house is so much passion. So it's like, what are you passionate about? That's what you should write about.
yes.
If it's comedy, it's just that this can add so much playfulness and joy, you know.
Yeah, so look to your sun, everybody, to see what flavor your Leo is going to come across in the third house.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if you have Leo here, the sun, this is a really big, big placement for you because your sun is the ruler of
Yeah,
this house. And
yes.
one other idea that I have about the third house that I didn't talk about, so I hope everybody's still watching, even if you don't
Yeah,
have Leo here or Virgo, is that I think of the third house of not having your feet on the ground. So anything that requires you not to have your feet on the ground, like a roller coaster, a trampoline, a swing, is in the third house.
oh,
Bungee,
that's so interesting. Yeah.
yeah, like bungee jumping. Have you ever been bungee jumping?
No.
Would you go bungee jumping if I pushed you?
If you push me off, I guess I would go whether I liked it or
Would you
not.
ever go bungee jumping?
I would have when I was younger. I have a few back issues now that I think would keep me from going. But
We could get over the back issues.
oh, yes, alcohol cures a lot of things.
Bungee jumping margarita with
Yeah,
margaritas. You
yeah.
could not pay me $1 million to go bungee jumping.
Really?
No. And I'm not jumping out of an airplane either.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that now either. But,
No, no, at any time in my life. No. And I'm scared to death of roller coasters.
well, Meredith, I can't wait to get to your third house cusp.
And, my daughter was like, Mom, you have to go on this. It's not scary at all. It's not a roller coaster. It's just the swing that goes
Yeah.
up and back. Right. And I'm like, okay, I can handle that. Well, the thing goes up, 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 in the farthest. And I was like dying, 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 dying. She has Sagittarius in the third. And I'm like, I hate those things. Don't ever do that to me again. God.
I get it.
Oh, are
Virgo.
we on Virgo? Okay, so this is really, really fascinating with Virgo here. Probably means that you're Cancer rising. Virgo and Gemini, they share the ruling planet Mercury. So it's like two faces of the same coin. They don't particularly like each other or get along too well with one another. And they process information kind of differently. But
Yeah.
saying that, I like Virgo here. the pitfall, I think, if I can start with the pitfall, is I think it can be so anxiety inducing. And that Cancer rising, I also think, is one of the harder rising signs to have, just personally. And I invite you guys to all go watch my Cancer rising video. I just think that this can create like a nervous Nelly.
You're going to laugh because I think they're always going to try to find an answer. They're always going to try to find an answer. They're very analytical. And if somebody asks them a question, or they're problem solvers. So they're going to try to find the answer. But I have in my notes, they're a walking Google.
Yes, that's so great. They are a walking Google.
Because they'll find out. Even if they don't know, they will find out.
Yeah, these people would be phenomenal journalists, like investigative journalists. I wrote in my notes that they're the critical thinker.
Yeah.
They do meticulous critical thinking, and critical thinking skills are so critical in life. It's cause and effect. If I do this, this might happen. And think about how many people are not critical thinkers and how effed up their life is because they didn't think of all the details of the cause and the effect. If I do this,
all of the scenarios that could happen. Yeah.
Like the dominoes.
So wouldn't that cause, I think this would cause some anxiety because they are so busy going over each scenario to see what the cause and effect would be that, I mean, to me, I feel anxious thinking about it. Yeah.
I do too. And I think that it's in deep conflict with their Cancer rising. And these people, I wonder, are you people sleeping? Are you guys addicted to like taking nighttime melatonin or something? Like, how are you resting the brain? And one thing that's so interesting, Connie, is I try not to do it too often because I don't want to get the radiation, but I've been monitoring my sleep on my new Apple Watch. It's so crazy. So it measures your deep sleep, your core sleep, your REM sleep, and then your awake time. And I just don't get enough of the deep sleep. And that's where your brain heals,
Yeah.
So I only got like 20 minutes of deep sleep last night. I need to go back to bed. I don't.
Right.
Yeah, it's so important. And so I want to know if these people are drinking their sleepy time tea at 9 o'clock to be able to wind down by midnight.
We were talking about Gemini and Virgo both being ruled by Mercury. Of course, they're square each other on the zodiac. They're in conflict with each other, even though they're both beautiful signs ruled by Mercury. But I actually think that Virgo is more practical.
I do too. Yeah, because it's Earth, right? Let's talk about siblings really quickly, because I think these people might have been put into service in their house, learning how to do chores, taking care of their siblings, being of service to their siblings. Like, you walk Johnny to school and you make sure you take care of Johnny at school, and, like a service, adding practical support to their siblings.
I agree.
Like, there's
the neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a high sense of duty here. One thing I'd like to tout for them, like, if you have Virgo here, tell me if this is true about you if you have this placement. I think this brings integrity and more honesty, clarity, and truthfulness to this house. This house can be quite deceptive, but when you have Virgo here, now there's purity that's desired.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot tell a lie. I cannot tell a lie. That kind of thing.
Yeah. They want meaningful connections. They want to be useful. When they come to your house as a friend, they want little jobs to do. They feel good being of service. They want to help decorate for the birthday party. They want to have everything, in place. They're the moms that put the little gift bags together for all the kids to take home for the birthday presents. This can be very, very thoughtful. I think they'd also be a really good food critic or restaurant critic, or even a chef, making up recipes in the kitchen. I think they'd be meticulous.
Oh, yeah.
Good at that.
That's good. Yeah.
I want to know if there's any third house Virgos that are chefs. Yeah.
That is so interesting. Okay. All right. I was thinking while you were saying that. So the second house rules food. And a lot of time I look for chefs there, but I'm thinking about, I watch a lot of Food Network. I'm thinking about how many of those chefs are Leos. So Leo ruling the second house. And then, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And then the meticulousness of
Virgo. Yeah,
yeah,
because Virgo would rule the third and they're able to come up with all of that stuff.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I also thought that because this is Cancer rising and Cancer
Yeah.
rules the stomach. And wherever you have Cancer, you usually like food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I just thought that the one little piece of advice I would give to somebody who has this placement is I think maybe they don't realize how critical mind then goes into critical conversation and goes into self criticism. And so I think they can be really, really critical of themselves, but
Yeah.
they have this uncanny ability to see and to communicate and to express everything that's wrong. And so they kind of lead with that. And it makes other people sometimes interpret them as negative. And so this house can go negative
Yeah.
because they see what the problem is. They very easily, they see what's not right. They see the stain on the shirt very, very quickly rather than the
Yeah.
shirt with the stain. They see the stain. That can be the pitfall. So positive self-talk, positive thinking, not finding the mistakes as fast would be sort of the homework assignment, just for reflection. Okay, what about Libra?
I actually like Libra here. They're charming. They are good with words. They can be very poetic. They can win people over with their words. Libra's mission is to have balance. They would make an amazing mediator, a diplomat here. They might be the ones that keep the family, the siblings, and the cousins from fighting. They're the mediator that comes in and they help everybody get along. They want it to be like that. But I think writing and poetry or writing music, this is ruled by Venus. So they can, I also think that they can bring humor or they can bring a solution to difficult problems that need to be solved. Like I was saying about all of the kids are getting together to play in the yard, and the Libra comes up with the game and how to play fair. Libra wants to be fair, so they're going to make sure that the game is fair. And I think they enjoy communicating with other people, but their communication, and this is just how I see it, can be more polished. Can they get down and dirty? Yeah. But do they usually? I don't know, not really. They had rather keep things, I can't think of a better word than polished. They um, may not like the rough around the edges as much.
Yeah,
'Cause,
I don't think they're going to like the raunchy, dirty talk, but they're going to like
yeah.
the like affirmations and the romantic talk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I see them as being, I think, I know I keep saying poetic, but that's how I see them, that they're able to win people over with their words. They would be, I'm not so sure they would be good in debates, although I think Libra is able to debate every situation because they can see every side, but they're so busy looking at both sides, they get stuck in the middle somehow, so they don't pick a winning side.
And also to debate, you have to argue.
Uh,
And I think these people might have an aversion to arguing. Depends on
yeah.
where Venus is. It definitely depends on where Venus is. But I think that they're a little bit afraid of arguing. Like they don't want to argue.
Yes, they
They're
don't
not,
want,
yeah, they're not good at bartering. They'll just pay the price. Like I don't want to even ask, you know.
yeah.
They don't like
And
to ruffle people.
exactly, because they want everything to be more harmonious and balanced and beautiful.
There's also, I think, a sense like how you were saying they want the game to be fair. They kind of, I think, Connie, want everybody to have the human decency to know what is fair. They don't necessarily want to go out there like a good Virgo could and say, nope, this is not fair, because that is going to ruffle. So it's like you should have the common decency to know what is fair and what is good and what is not. And then when that's violated, they can get really pissed off.
I have a daughter that has so many Libra placements. It's not even funny. This is not one of them. She will avoid the argument and the debate until it's about someone who she loves. So I'm telling you, don't mess with a Libra's if they have Libra on this cusp with their siblings, because if you're not treating them fair, they're going to be the first. They may not stand up for themselves. They may be very quiet and demure, but they'll stand up for their siblings right away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's really, really good. Yeah, there is a strength in there. And where your Venus is and how your Venus is in the chart is really going to tell you a lots about this placement. I also think this person would be like a phenomenal personal shopper or stylist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I want this person to style me.
And this is usually Leo rising. And I think Leos have phenomenal style anyway. I just do.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also think this person could have kind of a beautiful voice. It depends what Venus is doing. I don't know if they necessarily can sing, but it's kind of like the newscaster accent, the newscaster voice.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
some voices that do podcasts that I'm just like, I got to go see what this person looks like. Their voice is amazing. And then I go look at them and I'm like, ew, I didn't expect that.
I know. That's why they created the voice. So people would just be judged on their voices and not what they look like. There's something very charming about the way that they communicate with other people. And not just because they don't want to ruffle feathers, but because it's ruled by Venus and they have a natural charm. Libra really
Yeah.
does.
They're kind of the spin room too, where they can spin the negative into the positive very easily.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I
Yeah.
like that.
They can find the diamond in the coal mine. Okay, then let's move on to Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Um,
Yeah.
wow, this brings such depth and intensity. Talk about the mortician, talk about the investigative journalist, definitely
Yes.
even stockbroker, analyzing stocks, working, even working on Wall Street, being a day trader or a trader, like high pressure cooker situation. Yeah, this is the pressure cooker.
Yeah,
Right.
their Virgo rising usually is as well.
Yeah. So these people are usually they can be deep, but very, very bright. And I think they can lead you like an interrogator. They can lead you into confessing all your sins.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like the not only the researcher, but this is the forensic scientist, the
Oh,
forensic
yes.
detective.
That is so good, Connie, the forensic scientist. Yes. Is this the person in the lab with the DNA? Like, oh, and this one
Yes.
chromosome isn't quite right.
Yes. And then they can also be the ones that go deliver the news because they are not afraid to say what they think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Is this like the military knock on the door? We're sorry, ma'am. We're bringing you bad news.
Kind of.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they bring the empty boots. This is sad. This is the tearjerker. This is like Stephen King novel.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The ones they can go deep and they can go dark. They're not, it's kind of fearless.
Yeah.
But
There's this author. I got to promote her. I hope everybody's reading her books. I think everybody might be. Her name is Kristen Hanna, and she does historical fiction that just literally rips your heart to shreds. It just crushes your heart and it just destroys you and you love every minute of it. It's just
yeah.
so painful. And so I've read every one of her books on World War I. I've read her book on the Four Winds on the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma. And now I'm reading her book called The Women, and it is the female nurses that worked triage in Vietnam. And my heart is shredded to bits. And I think that this author could actually have this placement because the part of the depth. Okay, so the Scorpio here, the author is Kristen Hanna. She's amazing. And I definitely recommend that you listen to it rather than read it because Julia Whalen, who won the Peabody Award, she's the Meryl Streep of audiobooks. So any book Julia Whalen reads, is like phenomenal. She cherry picks her books now. But anyways, just to say this is I think with having Scorpio here, you're like an investigative researcher, right? So she investigates truthful situations and then she creates a fictional story, but it's so deep. Her books live in your heart forever. You are forever transformed and changed after you read one of her books. I will never be the same again after the books I've read that she's written. And so there's transformational communication here too.
That's interesting to me because I don't think this placement likes small talk. You know, they want to go deep or they kind of don't go. I didn't say they couldn't make small talk. I said they don't particularly enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a passion, there's a power, and there's a depth. And when you have that concoction, you're in the bowels. And there's no small talk there. Yeah.
Don't you think it can be a bit sarcastic too? Which doesn't bother me.
I think their wit, because this is your sense of humor too. I mean, you'll find it in the 5th and the 9th, but your wit is very, like they say the truth, like they say the truth that everybody's thinking that nobody wants to say. That's really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It can be really hilarious. I was thinking of a comedian. I think Seth Meyers, I don't know if he's a Scorpio, but I think he has a scorpionic kind of wit.
Yeah.
You have to be very, very smart to keep up with Seth Meyers' jokes. And I think there's an intelligence here with Scorpio. Like there's sort of, forgive me for this, I don't know if my editor is going to bleep me out or not. They're sort of like unfuckable. You cannot.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
Oopsie.
F-bomb coming.
Yeah. F-bomb coming in. Okay. Sagittarius in the 3rd.
This one's really interesting because, Sagittarius, it really rules the 9th house, the house in opposition. But they have an amazing mind. They love adventure. Now, they love to take the roller coaster ride, talk about everything they did. They like to study and learn, but they don't like routine. They really don't. Don't push them into keeping a routine. Now, they love to learn about everything. They just don't want to do it in a routine way.
Yeah, like don't make me go to class every day at the same time. Boring.
Yes,
exactly. I think, Connie, boredom is the pitfall here. They get bored so fast.
And they're very open-minded. I mean, about everything. They can pretty much talk about everything. The problem is sometimes they might talk a little bit too much.
Don't you think these people have like a serious case of FOMO?
Yeah.
They want to go hiking. They want to go hiking and they want to go to the ball. They want to go paddle boarding and they want to surf. They want to do it all.
Because they have this vast understanding of many things. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna say the bad thing. Sometimes this placement can be a bit insensitive.
Ooh, insensitive?
Just a bit.
Like steamroll?
A little, yeah.
Like how? Like too sharp, too
yes,
I want my way?
Because they're just thinking, all right, Sagittarius likes truth. They do. They are very big on truth. So they'll just say, all right, like my husband has his Mercury in Sagittarius. Sometimes things coming out of his mouth like word vomit. He doesn't think about what he's saying, but he actually means what he says. It doesn't mean it didn't come out in the most sensitive way.
Yeah, like they don't think how their words are going to affect the situation. And they don't. Yeah, and I think they don't always make the situation better with their truth.
Now, if you're down in the dumps, this is the first placement that will try to encourage you. They will tell you every single way possible that your dumps can be cured. You know what I mean? And they'll help you do it. They'll be right there for you. But it's ruled by Jupiter. I mean, Sagittarius is very optimistic, but they're and vast-minded. They think about everything. But so when it comes down to the details, they're not that great with it.
I think this is the Practical Joker. This is the movie. This is the show, the television show, like that.
Yes.
Practical Jokers.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think this is like hilarious. This can be so hilarious, but it's kind of like slapstick pranks. The Practical Jokers where like they're wearing an earpiece, walk through Manhattan and tell the lady she looks ugly.
Oh, yeah.
That show.
I know exactly what show. That's one that he watches. So yeah, I get it.
Also, I think that there's this podcast that my husband listens to. It's called Jubal in the Morning, and they play pranks on people. It's a morning show. Anyways, I think this could be that, where you're in a position of authority, like on film, and you are like secret recording someone. I think this could also be, what do you think of this, Connie? I think this could be the placement of Karens. Karens.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, this is such the Karen place. I want to know, you guys,
house.
are you a Karen? Have you ever been a Karen? And you can confess it, because we all learn, right? But this is the person
We will love you anyway.
that's like, did you see the one Karen where the lady was just like text messaging from her parking spot, and it was the only parking spot available to go into like urgent care, and she would not get out of her car. She's like, I have a right to sit here. And the lady's filming her. They got almost they almost got into a fist fight. Like, I have to park. I have to go into urgent care, and all you're doing is text messaging. Could you text message somewhere else? No, I can't. No, I cannot.
Insensitive.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think you're right that this is probably, when it's healthy, one of the most optimistic, inspiring, motivating, fun, funny, happy. This is usually a very, very, very happy person.
Inspirational speaker.
Yes. Yeah. This is Tony Robbins.
Is he a Libra rising?
I don't know. I think he might be.
Yeah. So this would fit.
Yeah. I can't remember. I did his chart, but I remember he had a lot of Sag and Pisces. And isn't it interesting? This is Libra. This is Libra rising. This is both my husband and my daughter.
It's my daughter and my son. So I can relate.
You can relate. Yeah. And I will tell you though that, well, my husband just makes friends everywhere he goes, like best friends. He was so cute. He went to the casino. This is story time. He went to the casino when sometimes I do tarot card parties at my house, and I had 10 ladies over for a tarot card party, and I do 2 a year. Anyways, I was like, Joe, you gotta leave. I don't know where you're gonna go or what you're gonna do. He's like, oh, that's okay, I'll go to the casino. He came home that night. You want to know what's so funny? My dad's 86 years old, and a lot of you know that he suffered a really bad fall, and he had a brain bleed, and he was in intensive care, and he's doing a lot better now. He said when he came home from the casino, I said, did you have fun? Did you meet anybody? Who'd you make friends with? Just because he has this placement and I know him. He said, oh my gosh, I made a new best friend. He's 85 years old, and he wants to go to lunch with your dad.
Oh, that is precious.
He said he just lost his wife a year ago, and he didn't know how to use his cell phone. So I put your dad's number in his cell phone, and I just hope your dad will text him back, because it took a long time to show him how to text.
Oh.
And so that was Joe's new friend for my dad. I thought it was really cute. So this is like, this can be very popular. You can make friends effortlessly. Like, oh my gosh, you should see my daughter at college. She just has like 150 new friends. It's just boatloads of friends. You kind of got to be a little bit discerning and picky though, because you can't manage this many friends.
This is a fun placement though, to have Sagittarius.
Let's talk about Capricorn.
All right.
Capricorn, let me tell you, people, this is the voice of authority. You need to be listening to your third house Capricorns, because they are the boss. They know what's going on. This is Scorpio rising, and they are serious. These people are very, very serious. So if you've got one of these in your life, you must obey. You need to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And I think they're very disciplined. I think they're very serious. I think life is serious business, and they prefer to have clear goals. They work hard for their goals. They're managed well. They're kind of the natural strategist, the natural planner. Then they build the framework, very sturdy, very steady. And I think they're really good at building and maintaining. I think there's loyalty here. I think there's a lot of integrity with this placement. It's like, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. I walk my talk, and I think they also really, they don't bite off more than they can chew. They believe in sustainability. Like, I am not going to commit to something I cannot sustain. I don't think they change out their life very much. They're not whimsical necessarily. And I think their relationship with their siblings, they kind of had to grow up a little bit fast and become mature with their siblings, with their cousins, with their family unit. And they want, I think more than anything, reliable connections.
Yeah.
reliability, steady Eddie. And they want people in their life that will help them or assist them in their goals. Like, are we forward moving? Are we climbing that ladder together? Don't get in my way.
I think they can be guarded. I think they're very careful about what they say and how they communicate to other people. They have their guard up because there's a trust factor with this placement, I think, especially being Scorpio rising, that they have to trust you before they're really going to communicate anything meaningful to you.
Absolutely. And also, don't you think that they can, with a steely determination, they can kind of overcome challenges very, I don't
Yeah.
want to say easily, but they're determined to overcome obstacles that land in their way.
I think they're very determined, and I also think that they'll take their time. I mean, Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and that's father time. So they don't get in a hurry about making decisions, about how they
Yeah.
process their thoughts. They take their time about it, and then I would dare say they're probably right most of the time because they
Yeah.
make sure they are.
I would agree with that. What do you think the pitfall is with this one? I've got my idea, but I want to hear yours.
I think that they have issues with people that are not as disciplined as them, cousins, siblings, neighbors. You need to mow your yard. It is 2 inches above mine at this time, that kind of thing. Get your dog. You know who I think about? Did you ever see that movie El Camino with, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
With,
wasn't
oh, I can't think
is
of his
that
name.
Clint
Clint
Eastwood?
Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's standing out in his front yard like the Capricorn on the third house. I love you guys. Just know that. I have a lot of Scorpio rising friends. But it's like he wants everything to be just so, very Saturn. And his neighbors definitely weren't just so. I'll leave it at that.
Right, right. Yeah. I think there is a stoicism here where they can be really shut down. They can just
Guarded.
guarded, yeah. And they don't necessarily even want to reveal their emotions. And I think sometimes they can lead with seeing also what's not right, what's not working, lead with the negative.
Yeah.
They don't usually, because it's Saturn, they don't always lead with what's possible.
Let's face it, it's the opposite of Sagittarius with Jupiter. It is.
But these are usually really strong people. Like the
Mm-hmm.
mind is so strength. Like there's a lot of willpower, a lot
Yeah.
of willpower. Okay, let's talk about Aquarius here.
Okay. So this placement can be a bit unconventional
Yeah.
in the way of thinking, in their way of processing, of the way they communicate. They can also be a bit rebellious, not necessarily wanting to do things the way that everybody else does. Unconventional, progressive. They like to try out new things, ruled by Uranus. You need to look to where your Uranus is, but they can be very restless. This is another placement. This is typically Sag rising that has a lot of nervous energy because it's ruled by Uranus. And Uranus to me is the planet of, is the higher octave of Mercury. And both of them carry anxious or nervous energy with them quite a bit. I think this placement likes to surprise people with their ideas and what they think about things. I do not put it past them to like to see others shocked by what comes out of their mouth, you know. Let me see how much I can shock you with this. But they don't like superficial. You got to keep it real with this placement. They
I think
don't
they can
want.
handle, I think they can handle the truth. Like they don't get their feelings hurt too easily.
They always want to increase their knowledge as well.
Yeah. Don't you think that they're really innovative? There is a part of them that can invent more easily than others. And I also think these people could be quite good handymen or fixers in some way.
Oh yeah, because they can come up with a different way to do things. I think that's kind of the MO for Aquarius here, that they like to be progressive and have those innovative ideas that they can come up with new things and They don't mind being a bit rebellious about it. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so what? That didn't work for your mama, might work for mine. You know, that kind of thing.
There's this guy on, I don't know if it's Instagram or TikTok, but he just goes and finds like random material, like off a couch. And then he's a really good looking guy. And he then takes that material and he creates an outfit out of it. Or he takes like your grandmother's curtains and
Yeah.
he builds, like literally builds outfits, builds jackets and pants. And oh, he is so talented. So that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking about, like inventing it, taking something and changing the form of it into something else.
They have a different way of thinking. They can come up with things that no one else is ever going to think about. I mean, think about it, y'all. It's ruled by Uranus. So they get ideas on the fly. Suddenly they just like, oh, you know,
Super busy because this is double air now. This is
yeah.
really busy. This is almost like they could just collapse into bed. They're so tired.
I think there's just a huge amount of energy. When I say progressive, I mean Aquarius kind of likes to stay ahead of the trends, or they like
Yeah.
to set the trends.
Yeah. This could be very trend setting. I also
Yeah,
think they're going to learn in an unconventional way. Like there's
yeah.
this school, elementary school, in the next town over that's actually a farm.
Oh,
And not that I see Aquarius in third house as farmers, although I think they could be, but
yeah,
it's a farm school. It really is an outdoor school. And even in the winter, it's snowing today, and they're outside in the snow, and they're learning about life and as young little elementary kids. They're so cute, and they've got donkeys and chickens, and how to feed animals, how to interact with real life outdoors. So I think
yeah.
these people could be different kind of learners. They're not going to necessarily want to learn theory in a large lecture hall.
I
They're,
agree.
they're going to want to do stuff.
And learn things that are not, they don't want to learn the conventional. I mean, this placement is not necessarily traditional unless, you have Uranus sitting in a very conventional house. You're probably not very traditional. You like to do things differently than everybody
Yeah.
else.
And
You
on
don't
your
want to
own
be like,
terms.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like you want to study maybe self-paced. So you guys have to
Yeah.
leave a comment and let us know what you think. And also watch this entire series so you can learn all of the houses. I also got to say one thing, Connie, I am so excited. I get to see you in May. We are going to have so much fun. Connie is obviously coming to the Seattle workshop. I want you guys to come learn with us in person. And Connie is doing a lunchtime session where she's going to teach,
Asteroid.
yeah, compatibility using the asteroids.
I love this, y'all. Come. You will not regret it. Last year was my first year, and it is so much fun getting to give everybody a hug that you've seen on Zoom. I mean,
Yeah.
so I
So
hope everybody will come.
yeah, come bring your third house learning style and
Yeah.
come learn deeper astrology with us. It is going to be amazing. We play hard at night, we learn deep in the day. It is
Yeah.
so transformational. And you can all get tickets at shopsoulnavigation.com. This really cool thing happened, Connie. Frank, the owner of our really cool space, it's a very
Yeah.
eclectic, cool, hidden gem of a space. It's hard to find. So we'll give you specific directions. It's like walking into, just this bland metal door, like a speakeasy, and then you
You
enter.
never know what's behind that door. It's crazy.
It's crazy, right? It's a whole
Yeah.
new world up there. Anyways, he renovated the space, so he made more rooms so we can have 20 more people.
You will be so glad you came.
Really life changing. Anyways, let's talk about the last sign,
Yeah.
Pisces, in the third house. I think this is the voice of an angel. I really do. I think if you have Pisces here, you probably are a singer, songwriter, musician, or
Yeah.
at least you have that ability or that talent. You could also be a painter, because again, using the hands. But there's this intuitive style and imaginative desire to learn. Like there's this giant imagination in this house. This is just absolutely, this is one of my very, very favorite placements
Don't
for.
you think that these people get bored if there's no inspiration in what they're learning? I think they have
Absolutely.
to be inspired. I mean, seriously, these are the people that'll start daydreaming if they're not inspired by what you're saying.
Absolutely. And also, this is Capricorn rising, right?
Hmm.
So I think this placement really helps the Capricorn rising
Yeah, me
because,
too.
yeah, it softens them.
I agree.
And also, I think it also brings empathy to the Capricorn rising. And so they speak with great empathy. This is another one like Cancer, where you feel so gotten, you feel so heard. Usually they can have bad boundaries though. I have a person, in my life who has this placement. They just don't realize that no actually means no. It doesn't mean no, now
Yeah.
break me down and manipulate me until I say yes.
Well, I mean, it's ruled by Neptune, and Neptune has no boundaries. So I
Yeah,
can see that.
that's the
Sure.
pitfall of this. And I
Yeah.
also this can be a little bit of the placement of the great fib. Like I'll fib to get my way, I'll fib to chameleon this.
Oh, Meredith, I hadn't thought about that
Yeah.
because I think they idealize their siblings and their childhood and there's like their schoolmates, their school experience. So it's kind of like if it wasn't that great, they're going to make it idyllic when they tell you about it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think there can be deception. And I think there could be like petty theft too, like a little bit of like, stealing the pens from work.
Oh my God, I never thought of it like
I
that.
know.
No.
Am I being naughty? I'm being really naughty. I'm talking about the dark side. I'll tell you guys the good side. I'll tell you the good side because I do think this is the voice of the angel. And I do think this is a spiritual conversation and there can be spiritual divine connection. And
Yeah,
I think there's a very nurturing, you feel nurtured when these people are healthy and when they're listening to you. And they're quite colorful and quite a storyteller too, but maybe
yeah,
a little bit more shy, maybe a little bit more quiet, until they get on the
yeah.
stage. Oh my gosh, I will tell you. So my younger brother who is a Pisces, he has Pisces in the third. He has Pisces in the third house. Oh my gosh, he's really really handsome, like super duper 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 handsome. He's half Thai and half Caucasian, so he's like that Amerasian gorgeous look, and then he's tall. He's like 6'2". So he got up on stage, and I asked him, "Would you do this?" We went karaokeing one night, and I said, "Would you karaoke Pour Some Sugar on Me by Joan Jett? I don't want to sing it by myself." He said, "No, no, no, I'm not doing that." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "I got my own song. I got my own song." And I'm like, "Well, come on, you can do the song with me too, because I can't get up there and sing and carry the whole song." He's like, "No, no, no, I got my own song." Anyways, he got up there and he sang, oh my gosh, "Love Me Tender" by
Elvis?
Elvis Presley. Who is singing Elvis? He got up there. Now I know why he wanted to sing by himself. He has this Pisces in the third. He has the
Oh gosh.
he has the most beautiful voice I've ever not known. How did I not know this? He
Yeah.
sang "Love Me Tender" like Elvis sings. I am telling you, men, women, and small children were in love with him.
I'll bet they were.
I mean, he made babies stop crying. Like he was, I'm like, who are you? You were like a god up there. And he's like, oh, no, no, I'm not.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
But think about it, musicians primarily use their hands, playing guitar, playing piano,
Yeah.
playing the horn, and Gemini or this placement is rules the hands. So again, the musician comes across very easily in this placement.
Yes. And honestly, what his talent is, and he won't do it. I don't know why. He says nobody needs another song. He plays bossa nova guitar. He's
Oh,
phenomenal.
wow.
I didn't know he could sing though.
Oh, well, surprise, surprise. I love
Yeah,
it.
I was just shell shocked. And this is the great intuitive thinker. And I see this in him too. Sometimes you can jumble your words, like you'll use a word that's either nonsensical, like you'll make it up, like
I was
bigly.
gonna, he makes up new words. Yeah.
Yeah, makes up new word, like bigly. That's really bigly of you. Now that's a word. And yeah, it makes up new words. So like we'll use a nonsensical word or we'll use the wrong word for his intention. It's jumbled
Yeah.
because it's Neptune and they're just going with like it felt like it was the right word.
Oh, I love. Don't you think this could also be the preacher
Oh,
placement? Inspiration. Okay, I'll reword that. Inspirational speaker.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, that's different than the Sagittarius inspirational speaker, but the one that can tell you about God or about the universe,
Yeah.
and they have you in tears.
Absolutely. Well, the Capricorn rising is the authority, right? So this is
Yeah,
probably somebody in authority, but they're like the quiet, benevolent preacher,
yeah,
not the, razzle you
right.
usually.
Absolutely. The one that can tell you, okay, Jesus can be your friend. You know, I just saw on the
Yeah.
Super Bowl they had that Johnny Cash song, "Personal Jesus," and that commercial, and it touched my heart a bit. It did.
Yeah. I think this is the therapist or the art teacher, that really inspires you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think this is the art teacher that you liked.
The
The
cool
teacher.
art teacher.
Yeah, the cool art teacher, the one that you could be friends with if you were allowed to be friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, this was so much fun,
It
Connie.
was.
I absolutely love doing these videos. We're almost done. We still have to do the second house and the first house, but you guys
Yeah,
watch the entire series. Share this with your friend, leave a comment, like the video. Oh my gosh, we love being with you. And
yeah,
by the way, become a super supporter. Would you join the channel as a member? It only costs you 10 cents a day and it helps us do more videos like this.
yeah.
And it means a lot. It means a lot. It allows us to produce more content.
It
So
does. Yeah.
we'll get on to the second house. And Connie, it was so good
Yeah.
seeing you today
That's
from
good seeing
Florida
you.
and
Yeah.
Seattle.
Bye. Till next time.